What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Ebb and Flow podcast. It's excellent to be with you guys. I have an absolute barn burner for y'all today. We're talking about the power of the sun. We're talking about Atlantis, all with my dude, Brian Richards, founder of Sauna Space. I think you guys are going to love this conversation. I certainly did. It goes deep. We go fast. It's really exciting. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2. I can't wait to share this episode with you guys. Truly, it's awesome. Before I let you go, check out sauna.space for these immaculate products, top of the line, state of the art in the infrared therapy space. They've got infrared Faraday saunas. They've got the firelight or the glow, as they're calling it now. Incredible technology. I have one myself. It's been an absolute game changer for me. You can use code EBBANDFLOW when you make your purchase there. Also, join my group mentorship program, Life and Flow. If you're looking for a community of people who are on your wave of personal development and expansion, come find this tribe that speaks your language. We would love to have you there. Also, finally, Heal and Flow, August 10 and 11 in Lake Stevens, Washington. Yoga, breathwork, ice tubs, incredible food, world-class supplements, amazing people, all there. Check it out. Join us. You can register at the link in the show notes. That's about it, y'all. Enjoy this episode, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace.
You have unlocked the eternal link to internal source, the key of imagination, your admission, access to the enlightened dimension, a gateway at the junction of darkness and light, the place at which the chaos of our conditioned frame of mind give way to a life in constant flux, only to be mastered through vigilant discipline. Peaceful times may come, testing times may go. This is the Ebb and Flow.
My brother, it's great to be here with you.
Same. Long time coming.
Dude. Yeah, bro. I'm glad we got this on the books.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I want to say, I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while now, since using the sauna.
Since you sent me that text, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's an obvious starting point for this conversation. And I think what you've created with your sauna space, with the Faraday infrared sauna, with the firelight, is something really profound. And it goes beyond our typical understanding of infrared therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just start here. My experience in our Faraday sauna, infrared sauna, has been nothing short of a spiritual experience. Truly, man. And the only thing that makes sense to me is that there is a truly quantum occurrence taking place when I go in the sauna and I sit there in front of those 7 bulbs, 8 bulbs. Now we have...
You have 7.
We have the 7 bulb.
Wow. Super setup.
The quartz hand-blown glass bulbs, right?
Yeah.
And it appears to me, it feels to me like the light that is emitted from these bulbs is so pure that it's actually enlightening my cells, literally, like clarifying and purifying my cells, because every time I go in there, I have the most profound mental clarity, epiphanies, revelations about my life, about who I am, about my purpose, that I can't, it's only, the only thing that I can liken it to is certain psychedelic experiences I've had on, with plant medicine.
Wow.
Plant medicine journeys, truly. And I'm doing it 4 to 6 days a week. I don't do it quite every day. I could, I could definitely do it.
You don't need to.
Yeah. And it's just been profound, man. And I had to share that with you in that text because I came out of there, as I always do, totally mind blown at what was happening inside of me. You know, not only am I getting a great sweat, so there's the fundamental physical experience. It's hot. It gets hot as hell. You know, it gets as hot as you want it to be. You get an incredible sweat in there. The Faraday lining blocks all the EMF with the grounding mat. So there's this incredible grounding, peace-bringing experience in your nervous system. But then there's this other thing that's going on, dude. And I think that's really what sets you guys apart.
Yeah, enlightening your cells is a interesting turn of phrase. So I was last week I was in Ecuador and I was studying this unified concept called Astrogeomancy, which maybe we can get into that a little bit later.
I would love that. Sounds really interesting.
So one of the key takeaways I had from that is that we were talking at some point about purpose, like why are we here? What are we doing? What are we really doing? And I felt from this course, sort of my download was that at the root of it, our role here is to unite heaven and earth. We're doing that in so many ways, right? We have this dual nature, this duality, where we have a mortal side and we have a divine side, for sure. And purifying our temple and living a life of wellness and of wisdom.
Lean in a little bit to that. I don't want to miss any of this.
Yeah, these things are all efforts to reconnect, remember, and move, sort of shift ourselves into the divine part of ourselves. And so the download I had beyond that is fire. So all the ancients worshipped the sun. You know, the original form of monotheism is sun worship, and that's because the sun is God's like main central instrumentality of how he creates all life, right? And they used to think that the sun powers the plants and the plants power the animals, but now we know that the sun powers us directly. So fire is the sun created on earth. It's and it's sort of at this inflection point in between heaven and earth is the fire. So the fire, it's not the only way, but it's this like super essential, effective, simple way to connect with the heavens, and not just, you know, as above, so below, not just the heavens above, but the heaven within. So when you sit in our saunas and you appreciate this firelight, it's not just something physiological that's going on. There's absolutely something spiritual. That's why our ancestors always sat by the fire at night. It was, of course, for heat and for comfort and for cooking food and things like that. But ultimately, it was about connection.
Yeah.
And so that's not all light is the same. The light of nature only has one source. There's only one source of light in nature, and that's the sun. And so whatever we can do to recreate that experience or mimic that experience is going to be something more aligned with our biology. So when you use what we call the firelight spectrum to heat the body, the heat feels like the sun. And the light therapy feels like standing in front of the sun. And it's absolutely much deeper than just like, you know, having our skin look better. It's a fundamental thing. And when we sit in front of the fire, we're recreating that experience with the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that, dude. When you get in there, even this, you brought the firelight.
Yeah, this is the glow. It used to be called the photon. This is our little portable light, and same technology that's in the sauna you have, just one bulb. And even this, just the one bulb, even in a room like this that's lit up with a lot of like LED studio lights, you still feel the vibe puts out, and your cells are
Absolutely.
feeling it. You know, deep inside, every cell of your body's like, yes, enlighten me.
Yeah. No, truly. That's what I was going to say. Even just sitting in front of this, near this thing, it's like you feel that warmth of the sun, that really nourishing light and warmth. You're really experiencing that.
Yeah, and it's not just, we associate heat with heaters and fires and things like that. But the original form of heat is as light. The sun is emitting, most of the sun's power is infrared. Actually, most of it's near infrared, which we'll talk about, because that's where you get the sweet spot of the light therapy and the heat therapy together. But the heat of the sun is not, it's not a convection heat like the furnace in your home. It's called radiant heat. So this heat, this radiant heat, is super nourishing. And that's the majority of actually what you get from the sun. We should explain that, actually.
Yeah, please.
So the sun emits UV, visible light, and infrared, but not all in the same proportion. Over 40% of the sun spectrally is near infrared. It's only like 15% blue, maybe, and less UV. But near infrared light also has a unique ability to penetrate tissue deeply. So near infrared light is the only wavelength that penetrates bone tissue, of the sun's rays that reach the earth. So in terms of power we absorb, over 70% of the power of the sun absorbed is near infrared. And these are the unseen wavelengths just beyond red in the spectrum. So the sun has a little bit of red and a lot of near infrared that you get each day. And so when you use this incandescent bulb that I've developed, you get that same power distribution of all the wavelengths of red, near infrared, and also beyond, just like the sun gives. So this is the spectrum of the sun without ultraviolet light and blue light, which, as we know, are damaging wavelengths. We're not trying to replace the sun, but informed by this. So in our modern environment, all we have around us are these things above us, these LEDs. They all emit blue light. So we don't get sunlight anymore, and we get way too much blue light. So this is a powerful technology to shift that paradigm back into what we were getting before, where we mostly got near infrared all day long. And the little bit of blue and ultraviolet you do get from the sun is immediately being counteracted, like antioxidative stress, melatonin production, and photobiomodulation from the near infrared wavelengths.
So what do people need to understand? Because there's a lot of infrared therapy is kind of a big thing right now. And you can go to infrared sauna places that are probably using LED lights. So what are the issues with an infrared LED compared to what they're getting with a Sauna Space glow?
Yeah, and I would add to that red light therapy. Which, So we'll talk about both of those things. So first, red light therapy. So understand what light therapy is.
Yeah.
It's the use of red and near infrared wavelengths to heal damaged cells and optimize function of healthy cells.
Okay.
Any wavelength of light from 600 to 1,000 nanometers, which includes red and the upper half of the near infrared spectrum. Any one of those photons hits the cytochrome, cell of life, the enzyme on the mitochondria. It activates these healing responses. So you get all the amazing things associated with red light therapy. Near infrared light, though, from 700 to 1,000 nanometers does the same thing, and it does it at a deeper level. So if we want to treat our brains, which are protected by our skull, or deep organs in the body, we want to use near infrared. Red's like pretty much superficial treatment. So those are doing the same thing. Out in the technology, in the product space, most of the red light therapies are LED based, and it's just that, it's red light. So the LED turns on and you see it's red, and it's very effective, but it's more of a superficial treatment. It's not dealing with that deep stuff. And in comparing LED light to incandescent light, is LED light's monochromatic. It's like one wavelength. It's one fractionated form. It's like a piece of the sun spectrum. It's like one little piece in a really high power level. And the incandescent light of the bulb of our bulb is the same as the incandescent light of the sun. It's all the wavelengths from 600 to 1,000 and beyond in the power distribution that the sun gives. So the firelight bulb that we do is more like the orange, and the LED light therapy is more like vitamin C powder. So they're both effective, but if you eat oranges every day, you don't ever get sick,
right,
sort of thing.
You're going right to the source.
Yeah, we see that also in the biohacking space and in the wellness space. The more we can mimic the natural environment and mimic the natural form of things, take supplements. If you take one piece out of a plant and you put it in a lab, right, and
you isolate one molecule.
You get some kind of limited benefit, but when it's in the synergy of the natural form, you get the cacophony benefit.
Yes.
You got all like the flavonoids, all the things working together. Yeah. It's no different with light. It's no different with light. So there are near-infrared LEDs where you turn them on and they don't look like they're on because it's an invisible wavelength.
Oh, interesting.
But the same issue is there, that it's a monochromatic. So it's, for near infrared, it's usually 830 nanometers. For red, it's usually 660 nanometers. So you get one wavelength of this over 400 nanometer wide band that the whole band can stimulate mitochondrial response. And they're giving you one wavelength and a really high power amount and saying, well, this is all you need. So you can get results from that. But the human biology is, I think, definitely more aligned with the incandescent light of the sun in the natural form, where it's broad spectrum. You get all the wavelengths. And to add to it, there's a feeling you get, that you get in the Sauna Space sauna. It's a feeling you get from the firelight bulb. You don't get that feeling from an LED red light panel. They feel clinical.
Yeah.
And that's because it's not in that natural form. The vitamin C powder doesn't taste very good. It's not enjoyable to eat. And we're beings of light, dude. We're not like simplistic little mechanical systems. We're not just biochemical. We're very complex, and we desire like, what did Plato say? Like, the only things that have value are that which is true, real, and beautiful, or true, good, and real. I forget, but we're always looking for things that are true and beautiful. And we want that in our light too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the benefits of getting more near infrared into your diet, as it were.
Wow, there's so many.
Because we're so bombarded by the LED. And that's created all sorts of issues, metabolic dysfunction, our sleep cycle, right? I mean,
lowers our testosterone,
hormones, all this stuff. So by simply adding in something like a firelight, not to make this whole thing just an advertisement for the product, but I think it's, hey man, there's not many things on the planet that are like this. I feel like you guys are the only ones doing it the way you're doing it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Most of the light therapy is LED.
Yeah.
And most of the saunas are far infrared saunas.
Yeah. And you're not getting that experience. You're not having that experience of the sun if you go to, infrared sauna studio, which they have, and you just basically go into a sauna and they've got the LED infrared light going, and you're not coming out of there having a deep spiritual experience, but so just adding in more near infrared into your diet can do wonders for your health. And you guys have seen that. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. So like, why is light important?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the
our
question.
Ancestors got 4 or 5 hours of sunlight a day. The sun can give you like over 70% of your caloric requirement. In the summer, you're not very hungry. You get lots of sun. In the winter, you eat more dense foods because you're not getting as much power.
There's less light.
So what does the sun? What does the near infrared light do for you that originally came from the sun? It's fundamentally gives you energy, and it's all about really the more and more. Dr. Mercola talked about this at the biohacking conference. The more and more, it seems like wellness and optimal health comes down to energy production in the cells. Like, how efficient are we taking in things and utilizing it for energy? So the sun is a way we can power our cells directly. and then the cells have more energy to do anything they're doing. But there's a lot of other interesting other effects, like production of inflammatory mediators, so inflammation reduction. There's regenerative factors produced, so you get cellular regeneration. You also have correction of the epigenetics and the gene transcription, translation anti-aging. That's an anti-aging effect. And you also have nitric oxide release, which gets your nitric oxide cycle going. Nitric oxide is an immune first responder among all the other roles it has in the body. All these things happen when near-infrared light photons hit your mitochondria, and you have that in every cell of the body except red blood cells. So this is a way you can promote like inflammation reduction, pain reduction, wound healing, tissue repair. And if we're talking about doing that in the nervous system, you see like neuropathy recovery, TBI recovery. Really, you pick the organ type and the disease type, and you see amelioration of symptoms when you use red light or near-infrared light.
It's amazing, dude.
It's really amazing. There's not any, and you don't even have to stop there. Melatonin is the body's #1 antioxidant. So it used to be thought that most of the melatonin was produced by the pineal gland, with blue light from the sun. Blue light comes in, and at the end of the day, the sun sets and the melatonin's released by the pineal gland. But it turns out that over 94% of the body's melatonin is made directly in the cell when near-infrared light hits the cell.
Interesting.
So the sun is also on top of all of those other things. It's refilling your cellular antioxidant reserves on a daily basis. And then we know also, like I mentioned before, there's like immune modulation effects. We saw some interesting studies during the COVID era using near-infrared light to reduce tissue hypoxia, like oxygen's not getting to the tissues. And for people who had pneumonia, resolving their pneumonia and allowing them to leave and not have to be intubated. So that's just like a radical example, but it's programming your immune system to work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, essentially.
So all of that and more, you can look at it, online on our website and elsewhere. There's thousands of studies now on the use of red and near-infrared light for healing in the autoimmune space and the neurodegenerative space too. It makes you happy, so it produces in your nerve cells. It promotes the release of dopamine and serotonin. It's kind of like where you feel happy when you're out in the sun.
Yeah.
It's doing amazing, all of that, just light.
Yeah.
But the right type of light.
Yeah. It's amazing, dude. And you feel that 100%. I mean, just go out for a walk on a beautiful sunny day and you feel that, And so having something that you can supplement that with. Well, it's one of the things I really love about you, dude, and I think it'll segue us into getting to talk about the Astrogeomancy, because I do want to hear about that. But, this all started because you were looking to heal yourself.
That's right.
And one of the things I love about you so much, dude, is that you're a real student.
I love you too, man.
I really I appreciate that so much about you. You're a really deep student. And that's what this incredible thing was born out of. And so you don't necessarily have to go into your journey into light, as it were, but maybe a little bit to get to the point where we can talk about the things that you're really interested in learning about now, the trips that you've taken, the things you're studying. I know hermetic alchemy has been a big one for you. You're starting to dive into the biogeometry a little bit, this astrogeomancy, and how those things influence the evolution of your company, which I think is really cool, because you're not just you're not just learning for shits and giggles, you're learning to apply it to everything you're doing.
Everything is applied.
I think that's
kind of life.
Yeah, dude.
What use is wisdom?
Totally.
If you can't apply it to your life. So for me, the short story, I'll give you the really short story is when I was 6 years old, I shot myself in the eye with a BB gun.
Oh, wow.
And I ripped my iris. So the lens of the eye is ripped on my left eye. You can see it under close light.
It's pretty badass, actually.
So since then, thank you. Since then, I've had I've been absorbing more light than I need. So I've had this build up, the surplus of light.
Interesting.
This is kind of the higher self version of like how Sauna Space started.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I figured out a way to export the light by transmuting it into these products. And that's kind of how Sauna Space started. And sort of the more boring story is I did have health issues. I had adrenal fatigue and insomnia and acne. And I was recommended to use a sauna by my mom. She's a wellness functional medical doctor.
Yeah.
So I did my research. That was the first time I started to do research into health. Found all the amazing.
How old?
This was 13, 14 years ago. So
okay.
A while ago. And yeah, I mean, I have a chemistry background, but I thought I was just like everybody else, just fine. Like, who do I care about my health? I feel fine. And then all of a sudden I didn't. So I didn't really believe her. Of course, I went online and did my research, and the benefits of sauna are amazing. It extends your health span, reduces your risk of dying of all things non-trauma related.
Yeah.
And, we could talk about that a little bit, but I was impressed with that. And I found Dr. Kellogg's work at the end of it in a book he wrote in 1905 called Light Therapeutics.
Wow.
This dude took the light bulb that was invented a few years before, and he created a sauna, and he called it the incandescent electric light bath.
Wow.
And he tested it on 50,000 patients in early 20th century. And he healed everything he could come up with, like 20,000 chronically ill patients.
Wow.
And in every category you can think of, has tremendous results, even like healing people of snake bite, envenomation.
Wow.
But fibromyalgia and people with lupus.
This is the same Kellogg who created the cereal?
This is his brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. So the light and the dark.
Well, the dark comes in shortly thereafter because with the publication of the Flexner Report, that was funded by Dr. John Rockefeller, we saw the rise of petrochemical-based medicine and the rise of the AMA and the FDA and the extermination of many things, chiropractic, all the cancer spas, and electric light bulb therapy.
Wow.
It wasn't just Dr. Kellogg. There was Dr. Gadiali, Dr. Dinshaw, there was Dr. Babbitt. There's all these people who are using electric light bulbs for healing.
Wow.
In the early 20th century.
Really interesting, dude.
Very fascinating.
Yeah.
The contemporaries of Tesla. So this all started, late 1800s.
Wow.
And went all the way to like the Depression.
Super cool, dude.
So I read this book and I found a modern doctor's
Say the name of the book again.
The book is Light Therapeutics.
Okay.
By Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. And you can see pictures of his technology in it. He had this handheld device called the Photo 4 that the glow here is a modernization of, essentially.
Wow, dude.
So I was intrigued by this and and I'm a builder, tinkerer type of person. So it's like, I'll make my own. And I made my own electric light bath and I used it before bed and I slept really well. So that was the start. I was like, what's going on here? Did it again before bed, slept well again, really well. Like no more insomnia, no more like mind racing, waiting forever to go to sleep. Just slept and quality sleep was amazing. So I then used it for 6 months, all the time, like you're using it. And everything else resolved, my skin issues, my energy, my mood. I realized too at the end that I had brain fog I wasn't really aware of. So, and that's probably what I enjoy most nowadays is the cognitive and spiritual like amplification that this type of sauna provides.
Yeah.
So that's the origin story. I didn't see an electric light bath on the market, and that led to like 10 years of product development. It's still totally ongoing today.
Wow, dude. Wow. I love that, bro.
But the higher self version, like I think really strikes a chord. Like I didn't even realize this until last year that this whole time I'm like getting too much light. I have to squint my eyes when I'm out in the sun. And I used to say I'm getting too much light. Now I understand I was getting a surplus of light and it had its intended purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's really interesting, dude. Kind of a funny question that I think people would appreciate hearing an answer to from you is, what's your take on sunglasses?
Yeah, I don't wear them.
Don't wear them.
Not at all. So first of all, let's talk about some interesting benefits of near-infrared light. There's this interesting new study that shows that if you get near-infrared light into your eyes in the morning, it prevents worsening of eyesight and improves eyesight.
Okay.
So we're supposed to get light from the sun. It tells us when it's daytime. We have there's a lot of healing that goes on in the eyes with near-infrared light. So the photoreceptor cells are not directly supplied by blood. They require water to deliver the nutrients. The near-infrared light structures the water in your eye and makes the nutrients deliver faster.
Wow.
And it's your big light sensor. So also when you get light into your eye, it's part of the information, the data your body is absorbing to understand how much sun it's getting. And when you wear sunglasses, you're not giving your body that data, and you're putting yourself more at risk for sunburn, actually, because...
Interesting, dude.
So I don't wear sunglasses at all. I just kind of, wear a hat or whatever I need.
Yeah. I used to be a big sunglass guy, man.
Well, they look cool, dude.
Yeah, I know, right?
Cool. Yeah, I like I wear them when I'm driving sometimes. That's about it.
Yeah.
No,
but I've been wearing them in like 2 years because I've got on this wave of getting the sun in the
real
eyes,
light. Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to get all the wavelength. We're supposed to get the ultraviolet and the blue too from the sun, and they have their purpose. They're just very dose dependent, and they're very high energy. So they can be very damaging to us if we get too much. And nowadays, because we have so much seed oil in our diets, those polyunsaturated fatty acids oxidize really easily, and they literally clog us up, and they make us more susceptible to sunburn. So with the modern diet, it's hard for us to live and get the amount of sun that we're supposed to get, that we're programmed to get. It's like, and all of that really is changing our relationship with the sun. You don't need sunscreen, and you shouldn't hide away from it. It literally nourishes all life on Earth. It's the #1 nutrient. And if you need to, you can take astaxanthin, and that'll prevent sunburn because it's a lot of antioxidants in it.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's what I do. It's like natural sunscreen.
I love that. Love that.
But yeah, the sun is good, and we shouldn't hide away from it. It's very healing to us, and it literally gives us power. It gives us energy. It fuels us.
Yeah. I do. I want to, let's go here because I want to keep it on a positive note and not get us ready for a war. But, what, as the student that you are, what are you really stoked up about right now? Like, what's driving you? What's inspiring you? What information are you tapped into right now that's feeding you right now?
Yeah, well, the stampede towards wellness is really inspiring. People are taking this stuff more seriously than ever. Really mainstream sort of community is now looking at wellness, looking at how can I heal myself instead of how can my doctor heal me. So for me, that's like, let's stay positive. It's really positive in all of the crazy stuff that's happening, nowadays.
Yeah.
But personally, it was this trip. It was actually 2 trips. So before my trip to Ecuador to study astrogeomancy, I went to Italy and then Egypt.
This is amazing. Italy's amazing.
So Italy's amazing. I went to a very strange place most people don't know about. It's called Damhur. And it's a spiritual community. You have to read about it online. It's too much to unpack probably right now, but they basically they dug by hand their own temples.
Wow.
And their leader was this guy Falco, who channeled all this and like planned out all these temples and gathered this community and created this. And their motto is like, like make things sacred again. It's something like that. And so they have this amazing, it's more of a community there. So we went there and we did a lot of meditation in their temples and began our study of Atlantis. So they're also uniquely, they have a unique perspective on Atlantis, and they have a lot of history and historians and knowledge of Atlantis. And I don't mean Atlantis mythologically. I mean like Atlantis as a real continent, a real antediluvian civilization. So we started to study Atlantis. So the founder, it's a little wild.
Go, man, go.
So the founder the founder of Damhur, Falco, traveled to time traveled to Atlantis,
Ugh.
and he was told that he could only travel naked. So he's like, well, how am I going to bring back proof of what I saw so anyone will believe me? So he was genius. He brought his friend who's a painter with a photographic memory. And they travel to Atlantis, they see everything for 3 days, they come back, and his painter starts painting all the things that he saw. And this is a private collection, but I saw these paintings. You can't see them like online or anything, but they're incredibly intricate and real and like they look like photographs. They're painted so beautifully. And so we got to study with this kind of esoteric but insider knowledge of Atlantis, and not just as a civilization with inventions and all the amazing things that they did, but what were they doing spiritually? You know, what were they doing like energetically?
Yeah.
And that led to us going to Egypt. Egypt was probably one of the oldest colonies of Atlantis. Atlantis was an empire that was bigger than like Genghis Khan's empire. It was on a continent that the mountains of which are the Azores Islands. It straddled America and Europe and Africa.
Yeah.
And it went all the way over to like the Indus Valley, all the way to China even, and all the way over here to up Mississippi, all the way to the west coast of South America.
Yeah.
And
is Damhur on the ocean or on the sea?
It's about an hour and a half west of Milan. So it's actually in the mountains. It's
interesting. Okay.
Kind of a not so well-known place. So we went to Egypt, which was basically Atlantis's farm.
Right,
Back then, it was all green.
As I understand it, Atlantis was sinking, and Thoth took a spaceship or some sort of vehicle and flew to Kem, which is essentially Egypt.
Kemet, yeah, the Black Land.
And he sent disciples to all the places around the world.
Yeah, I think that happened though quite before, because Egypt was already established by then. And so
interesting. Okay.
But all that to say, you know, without getting, they call him Thoth.
Thoth.
Yeah, and he's his own interesting story. But
do they speak Italian at Damhur? Or is it all cultures?
Italian, English, yeah.
Okay.
You know, most of us were English
kind
speakers.
of a blend now.
Yeah, but there were some South Americans and some Swiss on the trip too. So
interesting, man.
It was this amazing trip, and we went to Egypt, which is the most direct connection to Atlantis because we have all this surviving stonework that you can go there and feel the energy and be in it. And we took with us this amazing guy called Crotolo, who's a Damhurian Egyptologist. And he was with us the whole time. And the whole time we were like playing with the classical archaeological explanations of all the places we were at versus kind of the Atlantean narrative and how everything there is way older than we thought. And the technology to create these things is not the way it's explained in classic archaeology. I think it's more and more obvious, even in the last just like 10 years.
Yeah.
So following that trip, I went to, and it was an amazing trip. I was just mind blown. Actually, I got to tell you one thing. So
yeah, dude.
South of Luxor, there's this temple called Dendera, and beautiful temple. It's actually like a Greek era temple. So it was a little bit later built. They have this stone carving in one of the crypts. It's like below, you have to crawl into under the earth inside the temple. And on the stone carving is this picture of these guys surrounding what looks like an Edison light bulb with a snake in it. And it's got a cable connected to the end that winds and connects to this thing that looks like a transformer. And there's this guy in front of the light bulb that has a snake's head, and he has these knives, and he's holding them up like danger, danger radiation or something like that. And then there's a carving next to it where there's 4 cables that go like this and go into 4 different boxes that all look like transformers. And there's like rays that come down,
energy transformers,
like a power transformer. It looks like that,
not
like an electrical transformer,
not like a superhero transformer.
No, that looks like one of those boxes. It's a big metal thing with all the plates that go like this.
Yeah.
And those things are all flowing into this globe that has a lightning bolt in it. It's like a ball of, it's electricity or some kind of light technology.
This is a carving?
And it's a carving you can see in Dendera. Yeah, it's so fascinating.
Hell?
And also these other carvings of guys that are holding what totally look like magical tools. These like complex, they're not like wands or staffs. They're like these tools with these intricate designs on them that they look like modern in a way. And I know you've seen like online different carvings of this where you see like guys that look like they're in spacesuits on like Mayan carving.
I was thinking about that the other day, actually, for some reason.
So it's just fascinating because, you know, I'm into light and light bulbs, and here these guys are.
Here's this carving
they're using some kind of light bulb
experiment.
technology. Yeah, and it's right there. So
wow, dude.
So totally high off that trip, I got invited by my friend Stephen Young. This he actually is based here in Austin. He's an alchemist among other things. He set up a course called Astrogeomancy, and it was hosted on the sacred land in Ecuador called Finca Sagrada. So it's like North Ecuador, outside of Loja. So I got to that, and we studied a complex subject, I'll say, called astrogeomancy. So under that heading are many things. There's like geometry, sacred geometry, numerology, geodesics, which is science of location and placement, calendrics, science of calendar, metrology, which is the most esoteric thing. That's like science of measurement of length, that like all these different cultures in the world all have the same ratio length measurements that are related to the difference in radius of the Earth at the equator versus the North Pole. The Earth is a little bit squished because the magnetic field draws it out. And somehow they knew about this, like tens, how many thousands of years ago. Also the precession of the equinoxes, also called the precession of the Earth. It's a 26,000 year cycle that the axis of the Earth wobbles. And they knew about this. The Atlanteans knew about this, and ancient cultures knew about this. And how did they know about a cycle that's 26,000 years old if they were not, you know, if there wasn't a civilization that maybe didn't span all that, but spanned a large amount of that? So we studied all of this, and I wanted to apply it. So why do we care about this? You know, why is it relevant to us? We are, as I said in the beginning, our noble purpose is to connect and unite heaven and earth. And we can do it in how we arrange our homes and how we build our homes. You know, how the cathedrals are built and the pyramids are built and all lined up with the cardinal directions, but they're also lined up with the cycles of the solar system and the cycles of the galaxy. The galaxy has its own cycles. And there's more power in when, you know, I'm saying like the sun powers us, right?
Yeah.
So what is the day in which there's the most power we get from the sun? It's in the summer solstice,
right?
The longest day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on that day, there's literally more
coming
power, you know, coming to us, more power available for anything that we're doing. So if we want to do something monumental, we want to do it on like either the solstice or the equinox. And even the moon also powers us, but in a different way. Like the sun is gold, the moon is silver. The moon is more emotional. It's powering our emotions, but also the plant life and also us. Things are more vigorous during the full moon. Like if you're sprouting your herbs, or if you know about parasites, they're more active during the full moon. So our ancestors lived with the wisdom and lived in concert with all of these cycles within cycles that were in the day, the week, the month, the sun cycle, the moon cycle, all of the luminaries, you know, Monday through Sunday, those are 7 days of the week. Those are the 7 original luminaries, starting with Sunday, which is the day of the sun. It's gold, going all the way to Saturday, which is the day of Saturn, which is lead, day of rest. And you go from higher to lower atomic weight, and like, you know, miércoles, which is Wednesday. That's Mercury, Hermes, Tot. That's the day of communication. You want to have your business meetings on Wednesday. Thursday is Jueves, Jupiter, Apollo. That's like the day of growth and expansion and scholarship. So And then Friday's like one of my favorite days. Friday, Viernes.
Me too, yeah.
Venus.
Yeah. Oh, day of
So that's
love.
Copper, day of love, day of celebration.
Oh, wow, dude.
And then when you're done celebrating, you rest. And then at the end, this is what also, you'll love this. So at the end of the week, after that day of rest and contemplation and kind of like introspection, that is Saturday, the Shabbat, the Shabbos, we take lead, which is the element that is associated with Saturn and Saturday, and we transform it into Sunday, into gold. So each week we have this cycle, we're turning lead into gold, and we're renewing.
Fuck, dude.
And so just like,
so this is Astrogeomancy.
so that's kind of all that stuff together and other stuff too.
Wow.
You know, and it's not just construction of buildings and stuff, like art. You know, you look at the famous Venus painting where she's like on the seashell and her belly button's a golden ratio of the top to the bottom. The golden ratio is the Fibonacci sequence. It's 1 plus the number behind it. And we see that in nature, like the golden ratio in the sunflower. Well, the 8-year orbit of Venus in our sky, going back to its original point, it does this. Like each year it's going around the sun. It traces out a 5-pointed flower petal that is the pentagram. So the pentagram is a very misunderstood symbol. It's the symbol of Venus, and the pentagram is all golden ratios. Like all of the legs of the star of the pentagram are like golden ratios with other segments in it, and like your heart is at a golden ratio distance, this distance to that distance, and like all in the human body. So in art and in music too, having things that are according to these like different ratios and the different numeric systems is what makes music beautiful. Music, you know, has, you know, the octave is 7 plus 1. So all of that, all of this wisdom, and it's like you could study this for a whole lifetime.
Yeah.
But just not trying to understand all of it, you know, I was just there and just tried to soak it in and know it, because ultimately I also, somebody, I forget, or maybe I just, I had this understanding. Yeah, somebody said it to me, or no, I read it in a book, I think. So check this out. You never learn anything. You're never taught anything. The only thing you could possibly do is remember.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when you look at it that way, you're like, oh, I already know all this astrogeomancy stuff. I just need to kind of remember it. And when you have an application, like just arranging your bed in the room, and maybe you have it so like the sun's light that's coming in through the window on the day of your birthday hits like this crystal that you really like. You know, even being intentional in very simple ways like that brings this, you know, it brings this magic into our lives. Yeah. So,
wow, bro.
So there's like a lot there, but obviously with the product, it's going to be really exciting to do some fun stuff with that.
Yeah.
Sacred geometry is so beautiful. You know, there's a lot more that is with sacred geometry, like the Metatron cube and the 5 platonic solids and how they all connect to each other and are present in our lives, you know, in so many ways.
Tell people a little bit about the Metatron cube, what that is.
Well, the Metatron cube is basically the flower of life, which I forget how many circles it has in it, but it's like all these circles that are together. And then you take a line from every circle and draw it to the other circle. And you create this complex design that's called the Metatron cube. And the Metatron cube has all the platonic solids in it. And it's like a cube with all these triangles in it that are overlapping with the circle around.
Yeah.
It's another manifestation of heaven and earth. Heaven is the circle, and the sun is the circle with the dot in it. And earth is a square. So when we square the circle, which is something you do in sacred geometry, you're yet again, uniting heaven and earth. You can square the circle, and you can make a circle that has the same distance around it as the perimeter of the square, which is really impossible to do, right? Without calculators. Well, this was known. You know, the Freemasons held this knowledge close to them for a long time. That was part of their power. But now we live in this strange Aquarian age, this almost golden age, where this knowledge was completely hidden and protected, and it's now all available to us just on the internet. And you can use it, and there's like calculators and stuff that can do all the math for you in terms of doing sacred geometry layouts and things like that. Like it's all available to us. That's what's so exciting. Hermetics, for example, was very carefully guarded knowledge for a long time, and now you can buy the Kybalion and like really get deep into it just to start.
Mind blown.
Yeah,
set the foundation, dude.
Yeah,
dude. That's so. How about going back to Damhur? Do you have to be invited there? Is that something
totally
like
go.
you can just go and check it out?
Yeah, they dug these temples in secret, illegally. And then they got found out in the 90s or something. And but the army officer who came saw the temples and found them to be so beautiful that he said, it's okay. You can keep it. You can stay. And then from then on out, they started to open up to the public. So you can go there. And if you go there, I recommend you stay in one of the limited rooms that's at the top of the temples. And you're literally sleeping in the temple each night.
Wow.
It's fascinating.
Is that what you guys did?
Yeah. Yeah, so we did that, and they just have a cool, they kind of like, okay, so if time is a landscape instead of like this line, let's say it's a landscape and there's empires. They've carved out their own little empire. They've like created this time warp and this bubble of reality that's totally different than anything else that exists on this earth. It's not necessarily the most, it's northern Italy. It's beautiful. It's not like the beach or like the most exquisite remote, but it has an energy there that's really unique. So you can go and stay there. You can also go study there too. And if you're interested, they have esoteric school studies. Like they have a dreaming course to study dreaming. And, they have this technology they call the selfica, the self, where it's these circuits, like this is a ring right here. That's a selfica ring. So
you got it there?
Yeah, I got it there. But it's tuned to you based on your date of birth and your birth name. And then it's programmed and empowered in the temple. And it's like 5 temples it's incredible. You got to look it up online. But it's a technology that is an energy technology where the selfica circuit has its own consciousness, and it's like helping you with whatever its focus is. So like this bracelet here, you can see this bracelet has an astral travel circuit. That's that big, huge one, long one. This is a circuit for vitality, and this is a circuit for courage. So all the time I have this on, it's helping me, remember those qualities. And also it's a magnet for synchronicity. So the Damhurians refer to these lines called the synchronous lines. And they're not the ley lines, so this is different. But they're these lines that go across the earth, and the intersections of them are where there are synchronous points where there's more synchronicity possible, going on. So that's just like the tip of the iceberg on, in Damhur. But totally, it's open to the public. It's fascinating. They have all the temples have these beautiful paintings. That's kind of like the history of the human race.
Oh, wow.
It's really fascinating. There's one temple that has all these paintings of all these aliens that the founder Falco saw. Yeah, because like when we say connecting heaven and earth, we mean that literally.
Right.
Like connecting with the stars and the star beings, and
literally and metaphorically.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're trying and that's why I like what I love about fire. We talked about fire is the solar plexus chakra element, and that's at the top of the 3 lower chakras. So that's where you transform into your higher self, right? As fire is this transformative element. And when we're in the sauna and we're removing these poisons, these things inside of us that don't belong, that are sort of limiting our ability to be our highest and best selves, we're like, it's this crucible, we're honing our physical self, but we're also moving into our divine self. When moving to our divine self is the same as going into the right hemisphere. We're getting out of the linear and we're going into the quantum side where there's universal consciousness and everything's connected. And part of that connection and that universal consciousness definitely is some kind of advanced beings that don't live on Earth, that are in the stars, that may very well have contributed to the success of Atlantis, and may still like be helping us out, you know, even as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt, dude. Is Falco still around?
He passed away not too long ago, maybe like 10 years ago.
Okay. Have you ever heard the name Drunvalo Melchizedek?
No.
He's like another guy who's he's got a whole community.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, but he's basically done he's a similar figure. Who's a modern guy who's plotted the history of Atlantis, perhaps even time traveled back. I don't know if he's done all that, but very similar. You know, that's why for me, I mean, there was a moment in my own journey which I feel like I'm being inspired to dip back into, of really studying all the things I could find on Atlantis.
Oh wow, I have such a good book for you. So there's this senator who wrote this U.S. senator wrote a book, basically a historical analysis of Atlantis called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. It was written in 1895.
Okay.
I have a copy of it.
Please, dude. Yeah.
I'll text it to you.
Yeah.
So it's just a blow by blow, just incredibly methodical analysis of from ethnicity to language to technology, cultural affectations, religion, mythology, and even like domestication of animals and cereals. It all argues that it originates, all that stuff, all of our heroes, all of the heroes of the Greek pantheon, Olympus, Atlantis, like all the heroes of the Greek pantheon were all kings in Atlantis. And the same thing in the Aztec and the Mayan. And the Mayan, the Incan cultures, they all have these, the Mayans and the Incas and the Aztecs, they thought that they came from the East, and all of their gods came from the East. In Europe, Egypt, and Asia, all the gods came from the West, and Atlantis is in between. And like all of the known cereals we have today, like wheat and barley and stuff like that, has no, from my understanding anyway, is that there's no existing wild phenotype, where anything else that we've domesticated in the modern era, you can see the original version of it. But there's those original like 4 or 5 cereals that we can't find the wild version, and that's because it's sunk. You know, it was on Atlantis and it sunk. And the horse, for example, the Cortez and the Spanish did not bring the horse to North America, to the Americas. There's horse remains that have been found that predate that, and there's also in the some of the Central American cultures, there's these like myths of the horse. So potentially the horse and the cow were domesticated in Atlantis. So were these main cereals. And they brought, as they grew and evolved, they eventually created colonies and expanded, and they brought all this stuff to, you know, the East and West continents.
Every corner of the world, basically.
But also the argument like that, how did Egypt, for example, all of a sudden, if you look at the first pharaoh, I forget his name, but all of a sudden the first pharaoh is like creating all these magnificent things, and everything, he was born into like this fully baked civilization, and it don't make no sense at all.
But totally.
But this makes a lot more sense, that there was this antediluvian civilization that was real, and it was on this continent. So this book just really dives into it, and I think for the left brainer people provides a really strong evidence that it really was, and that everything we know, all of our culture, from the fire to the compass to everything we have that's like of value, it all came from Atlantis. And only today, I would say, with like the advent of electricity and computers, are we starting to create things maybe that compete. But like you go to Machu Picchu, or you go to the Colossus temple, I think it's in Greece, they have these massive buildings with these bricks that are asymmetric and connected without mortar or cement, and they perfectly fit each other. And there's no way that they did that without some kind of light or sound technology. And the same thing with the stuff in Egypt. You know, around the Sphinx, there's this block that's like bigger than this table. It's probably 80 tons of pink granite, very hard.
Uh-huh.
And it has like 14 different cuts in it. And it has this one little cut at the end where it cuts down like this. There's no reason to do that, except to like, glorify, the advanced technology that you're using, like just because they could.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think.
I mean, I'm a total, I know it was real.
It was real. And we all come from there. So all of us have some Atlantean genetics and some Atlantean, soul and energy and history. And I think that's part of our awakening nowadays is among other things, remembering Atlantis and Atlantis, not just the fall, the decadence, but like the glory of the golden age of Atlantis, where we have internal alchemy, inside of our body. We have like our DNA creates light, and we can take in light and heal and do these amazing things. And we have external alchemy now, the technology we develop. And the Atlanteans found a beautiful harmony between the two of them, where they had this more expanded experience in doing the both of them together. They were master metallurgists. The Bronze Age definitely comes from them, the adding of tin to copper. And then so all of that to say, like, so, okay, it was real. So what were they doing spiritually and energetically? And I think they were doing a lot of things with sound and with wind and with the voice. When God created the universe, he said, "Let there be light."
Right.
He said it, he spoke it, and
first there was the word. This
manifestation, that happens here with the throat chakra.
Yeah.
So that's really what's fascinating me now is like, I think I'm going to I met a guy on the Ecuadorian trip that is a professional throat singer. He's based here in Austin.
Wow.
So I think I'm going to take one of those classes.
Yeah, dude. I'd be down to check that out.
Yeah.
With you. Dude.
Just honing more of the inner engineering. We're totally unlimited.
Yeah, man. Wow, bro. I mean, we got to do another pod at some point, but thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What a treat. Loved this conversation so much. Before we get out of here, you want to just let everybody know where they can tap in?
Yeah, everything's on sauna.space. That's the website, sauna.space. We have a research archive in the bottom. If you like that sciencey stuff, you can read about our spectrum and the products and everything that's there in our story. And also on Instagram, we're at Sauna Space. So we have a lot of cool content on there where I kind of geek out on EMF meters and all that kind of cool stuff.
Highly recommend, y'all. Highly recommend. Also, when you go to sauna.space, you can use code Ebb and Flow. Get yourself a nice little discount, up to $300 off any of their products, up to $300 off. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Evan.
Really love this so much.
Grateful to be here. Appreciate it.
Hope you guys got as much out of that as I did. Lots of love, y'all, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.